What is going on, guys? It is Luis Alvarado here, and I'm with my buddy Jeff Miller, and we're gonna be talking about everything that you need to know about building a Facebook ads agency. All right. So, Jeff, go ahead and take it away, man. I'm excited for this.
Cool. So share screen and we're recording, right? Yeah, we're recording.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So a little bit about me. You may have like downloaded Cheat or something like that. I've worked with Lewis before. Like he's been to the office and things like that. He's helped me launch my store, helping me figure out affiliate marketing, and it's helping me figure out the funnel processes. And he asked me to do this. So I was like, sure, not a problem. And my name is Jeff. I run an agency called Cool Beans Digital. We're down in Miami, Florida, in the South Miami area. And I've really put myself in a unique position to be the first Facebook ads person in my area that wants to talk to clients in person, right? Everyone is saying like, don't talk to them, like email only, internet marketing. And my whole spiel is like, no, I want to talk to people in neck choking distance. And that's turned out pretty well because like, that's the term, like neck choking distance. And one of my like clients was like, that's why I want to talk to you, because I can choke your neck. And I was like, yes, that's the thing, right? And the strategy that I've used, like build my Facebook ad agency, is very much like the old school strategy of how like your parents or your grandparents thought you should have built a business. So the whole way I get clients, and I'm putting it in air quotes, is in person first, have conversations first, talk to them like a normal human being, figure out their problems, things like that. And I've kind of helped solidify that into like 5 basic steps. And when I say 5 steps of building a Facebook ad agency, 90% of building a Facebook ad agency is having the conversation, being client focused and figuring out how to get them to want to buy what you have to sell. And 10% is actually mastering Facebook ads. And when I say mastering Facebook ads, I don't mean mastering everything like, I'm not talking about like multivariate testing or A/B testing or split testing or anything like that. I'm just talking about how to get the result that you set up from the first 5 steps in that 90%. And so with this video, I really want to focus on those 5 steps in that 90%. Because if you don't have that, you don't have an agency. You're not building anything. You have to find clients first. And so that's what we're going over today. And there's like 5 major steps. And I'm going to go over it like at a high level first, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. There'll be some back and forth, things like that. But since I've been doing this for like just under 2 years now, these are like the 5 basic steps that I go through any single time that I want a client, have to get a client, have to hit my revenue goals. And looking back, these are the 5 steps that I was taught whether I worked at like Intel or Ericsson or my MBA at Washington St. Louis, or when I was a summer scholar at University of Chicago, or my parents taught me or my mentors taught me. It's all about these 5 steps. And the first step is really going to where your future clients get together, talk about the problems, and be their dollar-driven solution to the future. And so I'm just going to take this sucker and talk about it for a little bit more. And if I do this right, never get the font size right ever. Okay, we'll get it eventually. So the first step really is finding where your future clients are, get together and talk about their problems. And what happens is there's 3 big ways. Oh, there's a typo already. Perfect, at least I'm human. So there's 3 big ways of finding clients or getting people that want to talk to you. The first is actually doing like cold calling or cold door knocking. And we've all heard this term before. You get on the phone, just call a bunch of places, things like that. And it ends up taking a lot of time. I'm talking like 1 out of 100 people will take your call to the next step. And that next step is really talking to a decision maker. That's the only reason you're making all these calls. It's not to sell them on the phone. You'll never get your intended result. It's not to like say hi and do a donut drop. You're literally like cold calling or walking around businesses and knocking on their doors and sitting in their offices, which they hate when you do. You're not going to get your result. Is to actually talk to the person who's making the decision about buying what you have to sell. And that's most cases the business owner or something like that. And you have to do like probably 100 phone calls to get one person, a decision maker. And then probably 1 out of those 30, 40, or 50 people will actually want to talk to you, right? Otherwise, they're just going to shut you down. You have to get through the gatekeeper, find a time, get their attention, and make sure they aren't distracted. And if anyone's ever done cold calling or cold door knocking, you end up having this weird scenario of like you're talking to them on the phone and they're doing something else. And you're not going to get the win that you want, and the sales process takes too long. The second big way is cold emailing. And I'm not a big fan of cold emailing. because you have to send out, I'm not kidding, tens of thousands of emails to get the response you want. And that response is usually like, yes, or okay, or let's talk, which is fine. You know, that's the response that you want. But here's what's interesting. Your cold email outreach is essentially called spam by the receiver and spam by companies like Gmail and Yahoo and AOL, if anybody uses that anymore, or you know, like Hotmail, even worse, right? Like those old school things. And what happens is if you don't set it up correctly, or if you don't do it correctly, or do weird things like swapping your domain or things like that, you end up banned and have to start all over again. And what's really, really shitty about this that nobody talks about is that cold emailing process essentially finds people that are easy to get stolen. So like if they're responding to your cold email, they will probably end up responding to somebody else's cold email. And you have this like bad scenario of like, yeah, but this guy's offering 1,500, can you beat them? And then blah, 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 all the way down. And so these two scenarios do not end up in your favor and do not help you build a Facebook ad agency that's very fulfilling and dollar-driven. The third part is meeting people in person. And that's what I really, really like to do. And maybe you're saying like cold door knocking is meeting people in person, but the challenge is you're meeting one person at a time. And most of the time they don't want to talk to you and they're focused elsewhere and they're busy and they don't like it. So what I like to do is I like to meet lots of people. I mean groups of people. So what I like to do is I like to meet groups of people in person. Because if I can meet 30 people at one time, I can hit that 1 out of 30 in like 30, 45 minutes. If I can meet 100 people, I've got 3 appointments right out of the gate. And what's really, really cool is when you meet groups of people, you end up doing what's called a shared narrative. If you impress one of these guys, which is easy to do in 2 minutes, then he'll tell all of his friends like, oh, did you meet Jeff? Yeah, he's got a really cool sales pitch thing. You know, he was walking around with this. It looked so much fun, all that stuff. You end up developing a really cool shared narrative that you don't get when you cold email, cold door knock, or cold call. More so, you end up building a real community and a real reputation. And you can chat with the decision maker while they are focused on solving their problems. So what I mean is people go to these things, they're called Chamber of Commerces or BNI groups or Rotary clubs. They're like mandatory business social hours. So like imagine like a country club that you could walk into that you won't get kicked out of. Everybody there is talking business and deals and like, oh, you'll never guess I've had problems over here and operations are so bad or whatever word that they use. And so when you're in that room and having that conversation, they're going to be talking about their problems. It's like business therapy session for 45 minutes. You're having lunch. There's a common theme. You end up being in the middle of exactly where you want, which is people who have problems and run businesses and money are talking to you about their problems. So then you can say, that's so funny, Mr. Johnson, because I just read this case study about a plastic surgeon just like yours in North Georgia who got 45 phone calls in 30 days from their Facebook ad campaign. Did you want to check it out? They're always going to say yes. Not always, it's like 75% of the time, but that's good enough, right? And so within about a 45-minute lunch, that costs you like $15. You have done 90 or 180 days worth of cold calling and door knocking. You've sent the equivalent of 1.5 million emails without having to fight about, well, will you beat it over here? Without having to fight of, did you get through the gatekeeper? Without having to fight on their loss of focus because they're working on their business. You're literally in the middle of where they're saying, I desperately have this problem and I desperately need a solution. And there you are in the middle of that country club or chamber of commerce or BNI group or Rotary club. I shouldn't say country club, but you know what I mean. And you literally are meeting with 30 to 45 to up to 90 or even 100 business owners that have money, that have problems, and are willing to talk to you about solving them. And here's what's cool. They don't care if you're an expert. They just want their problem solved. So like the biggest challenge that I've had in this office space is that the molding isn't done and there's a gross carpet and Lewis has seen it. I don't care if that carpet installer and that molding guy has 30 years of experience with carpet. Just fucking fix my carpet problem. And so what? A guy came in and said, Jeff, your carpet is gross. I said, yes. Can I pay you to fix it? He goes, yeah. I paid him $1,400 and he put a new carpet while I was over the weekend. Fucking great. I don't even know if he has 5, 10, 15, 20 years of experience. I didn't ask him if he's installed carpets before. It's a fucking problem and I want a solution. That's what you want to do. And that's what happens when you go to where your future clients get together, talk about their problems, and be their dollar-driven solution to those problems. And there's typos in this slide, but you're an adult, you can figure it out. I'm talking to the audience when I say that, right? And so one of the biggest mistakes that agencies make is they aren't doing this thing. When I need a new client, and when I want a new client, when I want to pitch somebody who owns 3 massage spas, I go to where my future clients are. I go to a chamber of commerce, I pay $15 for lunch, and I end up having a very friendly conversation about things, about problems, about people. And I say, that's so funny, Mr. Johnson. I just finished reading this case study about how massage spa, just like yours, got over 100 appointments in 30 days from their Facebook ad campaign. Do you know of anybody that wants those results? Everybody either says yes or I know of somebody. If they say that you know of somebody, you say, that's so awesome because I actually have a really strong referral program. I pay 20% for anybody that sends me business. Within 2 or 3 iterations of this, you've got 100 people running around town trying to sell you stuff or sell for you, find people who want to buy your things. So that's really step number 1. Does that make sense so far?
Everything's pretty clear.
Do you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that?
No, man. It's pretty good so far.
Cool. So what'll happen is you go to these chambers of commerce, BNI networking events, Rotary clubs. They don't have to be professional. You're a sociable person first and foremost. So I'll go to like WeWork events and I'll just like stop by and say hi. Facebook events that are just like my friends and friends of friends, which is perfect. Meetups, Eventbrites, whatever. Is go be a normal human being. When I was getting started, I had a Monday, Wednesday, Friday scenario. Monday I did breakfast. That's why I wake up at 6:30 in the morning. I go to breakfast and I talk to people. And whether they're the same people or different people, I would just say hi. There's always a breakfast chamber event. So I would just go. No big deal. I got my first 3 clients that way. Awesome. 10 grand. Perfect. Then I had a Wednesday scenario when I went to lunch with people that were my referral network or people that could be my clients in the future. Awesome. Friday, I went to an evening event, which is the perfect place to end up having this like, pseudo business thing where like you can walk in wearing this fun shirt, but some people are wearing like, they just got to work, so they're wearing the collared shirt. No big deal. It's fine. And there's a place you can do it in Miami, like Coral Gables or Coconut Grove, or like the Miami Chamber of Commerce, downtown, Pinecrest, South Miami. Like they're just all over. So you go and be sociable. What will happen is you'll use the script that I gave you, which is, would you like to see the case study, right? And they always say yes. You get the phone and you figure out a time, text message back and forth, schedule time, great, fine, perfect. And you want to do this either in person or over the phone, or in person or over a Zoom call. I try not to do it over the phone because face-to-face matters, and I prefer to do it in person. And because of that, I've got like this cool like office scenario with a wall-sized whiteboard and all that fun stuff. The mistake that most people make is they go immediately into the pitch. Nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to buy plastic surgery from a plastic surgeon running around town saying, can I do plastic surgery on your face? Nobody does that. Nobody says, hey, this is so great. I was walking up and down the street and I talked to this guy for 15 minutes and he wants to like, fix my nose for me. No, that's not a thing, right? Like nobody says, I'm so happy that, I spent 6 minutes talking to a plastic surgeon and I'm in the operating room the next day. No, that's not a thing, right? Like that doesn't happen with cars. That doesn't happen with plastic surgery. That doesn't happen with doctors, lawyers, accountants, nothing like that. That's not the way you sell Facebook ads. And like I mentioned before, you want to figure out their problems. So what plastic surgeons do, doctors, lawyers, accountants, is actually sit down with you for like 30 to 45 minutes. And they ask you a series of questions. They figure out what exactly that problem is with your face. What don't you like about your face? What's the problems you're having with your accounting? Tell me about what broke your shoulder and why you've had this recurring injury in your neck. Great. So now that client is talking about all their problems. Only after they've talked about the problems does that provider or the Facebook ad agency or doctor or accountant then move into the solution. And here's what's really, really cool. If you talk about the problem, the solution will almost always match what you have to sell. So like, let's say I go into a physical therapist's office and I say, look, I've had this shoulder problem forever. I don't know what's wrong with it. When I do this, I feel this like stinging sensation. And he asked me like 5, 10 questions, says, okay, can I show you how it would solve your problem? But they use their terms like, can I show you how like a therapy program works? Yeah, that'd be great. Like I just desperately need it. Meanwhile, I go to an orthopedic surgeon and I go like, oh, this is big problem, it's stinging in my neck. He says, well, if you'd like, I can show you how we solve this problem using surgery. Okay, great, fine. I go to a personal trainer, same problem. All right, great. So we're going to strengthen the muscles here. Whatever the problem is, magically the solution is always tied to the provider. That's how this process works. So as a Facebook ads agency, we're going to ask questions about the problems they're marketing. Does that make sense so far?
Yep.
You're going to ask questions such as, all right, Mr. Johnson, before we get this thing started, I always like to ask a series of questions, just like a doctor, lawyer, accountant would, but you don't say that, right? And so tell me, how many leads is your marketing currently generating right now? The answer is almost always either 0 or I don't know. Almost always. Just like if I met an orthopedist and I had problems with my shoulder and I said, you know, that's so funny, I'm at the sports conference, I've got this huge problem with my shoulder, I'm talking about my problems. The guy's like, that's so funny because I'm an orthopedic surgeon. Would you like to figure out a solution? Yeah, that'd be great. I'm in his fucking office the next day, right? Not doing surgery, but I'm in his office, right? Same things, ask me questions. So, Mr. Johnson, we've already established that you've got a problem with your marketing. I'm a face-to-face person. We have a shared narrative. I'm part of your community. I have a reputation. I can talk okay. And now you're in my office talking about the problems of the marketing. So Mr. Johnson, tell me, how many leads is your marketing currently generating right now? The answer is always 0 or I don't know. If it's 0, you know they're a liar. That's fine. They just don't know. If they say, I don't know, they know that they have a problem, but they can't quantify it. Either way, you're golden. So the answer is like usually like 0. Otherwise, they wouldn't have a problem. Kind of self-selects. Okay, Mr. Johnson. Let me just not write that, right? All right, Mr. Johnson. How many customers are you currently generating right now, and do they come from your marketing? Cool. Awesome. Well, we get like an average of like 1 or 2 customers a day. And I don't know where they come from. Like sometimes they see an ad, but I'm not really sure where that came from. Or the answer is like, I get 2 or 3 customers a week, but they're all referrals or something like that. Cool. So now you're asking questions that hint at how you're going to position your Facebook ads. Let me just copy and paste this. And then you're gonna ask more questions like, okay, so when you get a customer, what are they buying? How much are they spending? And how long do they stay with you? Big mistake that marketers make is they use their own tribal language, like, what's your customer lifetime value? Which is always insulting. Like, no joke, every time I've asked that, they're like, fuck you, every fucking time. So I don't ask that. Instead, I change the language. I said, all right, so when you get a customer, what are they buying? How much are they spending? And how long do they stay with you? So then I figure out customer lifetime value. Cool. And whether it's a bakery or a bike shop or a car wash or a chiropractor, they can answer these questions. But if you ask a bakery what's customer lifetime value, they have no idea. It's almost like, and their response is almost like, I hate you. So with a bakery, for example, we established pretty quickly that there's a whole swath of human beings that come by like every day and spend like $2.25 like that. That's their best performing thing. They come in like 5 days out of the week. That's part of their routine to the office. Cool. And they have like at one location, 100 people a day that do exactly that. And they've been doing it for 2 years. Cool. These are words directly from her. By the way, when you're doing this on Zoom or in person, you are recording the whole thing. Awesome. So now you have them on tape telling you how much these customers are worth. And you do the math, and it ends up being like, so each customer is worth like $8,000 over the course of 2 years. Yes, that's awesome. Cool. There's your customer lifetime value. And that's not the math, but let's just pretend, right? Over 2 years. Awesome. Then they say, or then you ask them, what's the number one problem you have with your marketing right now? They're going to tell you, not getting the ROI. It's not measurable. I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's even worth it. It's never performed. My phone's not ringing. Cool. Depending upon the language that they use, you can customize your Facebook ads campaign to solve that problem. For example, I don't know if it's working. Awesome. And last question, which is usually the most important. When you get a phone call or a voicemail from a potential customer, how often are you trying to call them back? Cool. Easy. Here's what's nuts. You're doing this specifically for what I like to call the when shit hits the fan. And I've seen this so many times. I know to ask this question in the beginning. At the end of the first or second month, they always call me back saying it's not working. And I go, that's so funny because I sent you 17 voicemails. I can listen to them right now. And you said, Mr. Johnson, that when you get a phone call or voicemail, you will call your customers back 4 to 5 times because they are worth $8,000. So, Mr. Johnson, so great meeting you at the Chamber of Commerce the other day. It's super fun. Wasn't it great? Cool event. Talk about blah, blah, blah. 5 minutes of huff and puff. Establish the rapport, or like, you know, how like you match each other, like body language and stuff. You say, this is great. You know, I usually do like doing an onboarding session, just to kind of make sure if it's a good fit and all that fun stuff, because I don't want to waste your time or your money. You know, I'm trying to make this just like a doctor, lawyer, accountant would be. So let's get this party started, Mr. Johnson. So tell me, how many leads is your marketing generating right now? Jeff, I'll tell you what, just like we talked about at the chamber, I think it's like, it's got to be like near zero. Like I have no idea if my phone is ringing because of my marketing. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but honestly, like I think it's zero, to be honest. Otherwise, like I wouldn't be here. All right, Mr. Johnson, that sounds great. I'm gonna write the sucker down. By the way, I want to let you know, sometimes like when you're in like a meeting, you have a genius moment, you walk out the door and like you totally don't remember it or it doesn't happen. So what I like doing is like recording my session so we don't forget and we can replay those genius moments, just like, you know, you play back the tape. You okay with that? Yes, cool, perfect. So let me continue on. So how many customers are you generating right now? And do they come from your marketing? We're probably getting like 2 or 3 customers a week. I think it's mostly referrals. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. 3 more questions and then like I'll show you some stuff. So when you get one of these customers, what are they buying? How much are they spending? And how long do they stay for? So they probably end up buying like, so they buy a carpet, and that's like, you know, like $1,500, but we always get a call back like in 6 months to recarpet the rest of their house. And we've got some other stuff, like we'll do the molding and then like, I got like a paint thing. So it's probably like, I mean, let me just add it up and I get my calculator, everything they say and say, so how much is this? Okay, $8,000 over 2 months, you got it. And 2 more questions, Mr. Johnson. What's the number one problem with your marketing? Tell you what, Jeff, I just don't know if this damn thing is working. And I could be wasting my time with newspaper ads and my Facebook ads guy and Google ads and radio, and I have no idea. And I go, yeah, I hear that a lot. I tell you what, if all I could do was solve that problem for you, this would be worth it, right? He goes, you bet. All right, cool. Last question. When you get a phone call or voicemail from like a potential customer, like let's say you got that referral and you didn't pick up the phone because you were busy elsewhere. How many times are you calling back that customer? You know, like people have jobs, they have a 9 to 5, they can only call you and then like, you know, not pick up the phone. So how many times are you calling back these people? I'd probably call them like a bunch of times, like 4 or 5 times because they're worth like $8,000, right? And he goes, yeah, cool. Now you've successfully established your onboarding session. By the way, there's up to like 15 of these questions. I've got like a whole thing on it, but these are like the most important 5 to move you to the next step. This will get you like 90% of the way. And at the end of this onboarding session, agencies will very often fuck this up and rush into a pitch. They will literally go, oh my God, let me sell you something. No, just like a doctor, lawyer, accountant, they're gonna say, all right, Mr. Johnson, based upon what you told me today and what I wrote down on this sheet, it looks like I can definitely solve these problems for you. If you'd like, I can show you exactly how I would do it, the behind the scenes view of a high performing digital marketing campaign, how much it costs, and when you can expect the results. Would you like to hear that? They almost always tell you yes. I mean, you've already met them, they're already in your office, they say, sure, let's do it. Plastic surgeon doesn't say, oh my God, you told me that you want to buy plastic surgery. Let me chop you up today. No, they tell you what they're going to do first, right? So you're going to do the same exact thing. I'll show you what that means. You're going to ask permission to pitch, just using the script that I told you. And 90% of the time they say yes. If they say no, great. You aren't wasting time pitching somebody that doesn't want to hear what you have to sell. If they say yes, great. They gave you permission to pitch what you have to sell. No big deal. And you're going to show them behind the scenes of how a high-performing digital marketing campaign is supposed to work. Customer research, Facebook ad, targeting, landing page, thank you page, notifications, soap opera sequence. There's a whole other slew of like the right way to pitch this and sell this. I've got a whole bunch of recordings. The end result though is you are literally showing them how a high performing digital marketing campaign works. You are talking about the standard package. Plastic surgeons will say, this is what we're gonna do to you. They bring open the anatomy thing. They say, this is what's wrong with your knee. Flip it up. We're gonna fix this, fix that, fix that. When you're talking to an accountant, they're gonna say, yeah, we run into this problem all the time. Here's the 5 things we're gonna do to make sure that your company is US GAAP compliant. When you're talking to an accountant about taxes, they know the 3, 4, or 5 things that they have to do for you. There's no custom work. They're not looking for a custom solution. They're looking for something that works, but for them. And that's why car companies always have the customization option, so it works, but it works for you. Your goal is to communicate a program that works for them. This program works. And very often I've seen like phone calls generated from the thank you page up to 100 a month. Very often I've seen customer research uncover the reason why ads don't work or why your audience isn't buying from you. I've seen Facebook ads that bomb time and time again because they're pushing discounts instead of offers. I've seen targeting mismatch so much because people are doing the cheapest result instead of the one that turns into the most customers. I've seen landing pages where all the traffic is sent to the homepage, but as an 80% drop off. I've seen notifications that don't exist. So you don't know if that client came in from your Facebook ad, from a radio campaign, from your magazine or whatever. And Mr. Johnson, I've seen soap opera sequences not exist. Let me tell you this. What does Kim Kardashian sell? They have no idea. I say, neither do I, but damn, she is famous. Turns out people are more interested in people's stories than the other products. So you got to sell a story about why somebody should buy your product. And like I said before, I've got like a play-by-play, like I actually show you and all that stuff. But the end result is you have to communicate a program that's standard, that works, but works for them. By the end of this, they're going, no shit. I had no idea this is what you're supposed to do. Because my Facebook ads guy or my marketing person or what I've done in the past only does this thing right here or only does this thing right here. And they never do the whole thing. This is why companies like Lamborghini will always be $1 billion company. This is why companies like Tesla will always be $1 billion company, and Apple and Google, because they communicate every single thing you're supposed to do. And here's what's even cooler. When you go to a personal trainer and say, here's the 7 steps that we're gonna go through to make you lose 30 pounds in the next 6 months. And they ask, are you interested? And they go, yes. And they say, great, it's gonna cost you money. And you say, great. And you don't show up to the gym the first day, they get to yell at you because this is the program. And guess what? This is the program. Does this make sense so far?
Yep, that's when the yelling pack comes on, right?
The yelling pack will come in soon, definitely. And at the end of this, you're gonna ask them 3 questions, which is right here. You say, Mr. Johnson, can you see how a program like this will get you the results that you want? Oh yeah. Mr. Johnson, can you see how this program solves that you currently have in your marketing? Oh yeah. Mr. Johnson, I'll bet you're probably wondering how much this program costs. You bet. 3 questions. If you don't get 3 questions, they won't close. Then you move into the close. Mr. Johnson, you're probably wondering, oh, follow the 3-question close and close top down. So this is the script and it's too long, so I'm not gonna type it out. But after this person gives you 3 yeses, then you go into the close top down scenario. very often, the reason why people don't buy a thing is because they think, okay, I could do it cheaper, or I could do it myself or get it cheaper elsewhere. If you do this, they're going to immediately know that they can't do it, or somebody on their staff can't do it. But you didn't answer the second question, is can I get it cheaper? So this is how I sell top-down. All right, Mr. Johnson, you're probably wondering how much this program costs, right? And I say yes. Well, when I was working at Intel, a program like this costs about $225,000 over 6 months. And nobody cared because they were getting lead sales and ROI. But I'm not going to charge you that. If you were to go to a New York Mad Men style agency, they would charge you $150,000 a year before they even pick up the phone, which I'm not going to charge you that either. And if you're going to go down the street to one of my competitors and pay for their Biscayne Bay views or their penthouse level suite, hinting at the reason why I'm working out of a shitty office, then you're probably going to pay $85,000 and they're going to require a 6 months agreement. But I'm not going to charge you that at all. The cost of this program, as it is right now, is $2,250 a month, and that includes ad spend. And Mr. Johnson, I'm the only marketing agency that is a guarantee. I guarantee that you'll get at least 30 customer opportunities from the day your campaign goes live, or I pay for next month's bill. And if you don't get 30 customer opportunities after that, I will pay your next month's ad bill again. And that will continue until you get 30 customer opportunities, you fire us, or we fire you. So tell me, Mr. Johnson, when would you like to get started? And they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you literally when they want to get started. Maybe that's a month from now. Maybe that's tomorrow. If it's less than 30 days, then you show them the proposal. You do not show them the proposal until they have agreed to take a next step, move forward, and want to buy what we have to sell. There's no reason to be a plastic surgeon that says, hey, I know we talked for 30 minutes. Here's how much it costs. Don't do that. It's not going to work. You will not get your intended result. From there, after they've said, I want this to start, let's just say in less than 30 days, tomorrow, next week, or something like that. Say, great. So Mr. Johnson, here's everything that you get, and you pull it out. All the way down. I'm going to walk you through it right now. It takes 30 seconds. There's everything that you get. Value stack your proposal so much that it looks like a Home Depot receipt if you were to buy a house from Home Depot. List everything. Everything. Very often, solo agencies or small teams will forget to talk about how they have phone, internet, email, and texting support, 24/7, 365. Dedicated strategy sessions, bi-weekly updates. They forget about the part called support and strategy, which is why people are paying you anyway. For some reason, we think it's included automatically. Of course, I'm going to pick up your phone. But there are some agencies out there that will not pick up the phone. You have to fill out a fucking ticket. And then they'll get back to you in 72 hours. The way you stand out is by listing everything that's obvious and explicit. And then, Mr. Johnson, I do want to let you know that I take my clients in a cohort. And by that, I mean I'm not some huge agency. I don't have hundreds of employees running around like my competition. I cannot take everybody all at once. I take on clients as a cohort. And that means I only take on 5 customers. And then once their campaigns are done, up and running, and we're getting them results consistently, do we take on another 5. And this cohort, Mr. Johnson, closes within 7 days. If you want your campaign to start within that time frame, you have to pay this invoice within those 7 days, or you may have to wait 2 or 3 or even 4 months. And I'll tell you what, I think the problems that we talked about today are worth moving faster than 2, 3, or 4 months. Wouldn't you agree? Great. So I'm going to send you a link to pay your invoice later today. Is there anything else you'd like to go over? That's your whole pitch. That's the 5 steps of building a Facebook ad agency. We haven't talked about the agency part or the ads part. This is just getting clients. But if you don't get clients, you don't have an agency, right? You just have Facebook ads. And what's interesting is the more time you spend in ads manager, the more money you pay Facebook. The more time you spend with the clients, the more money your clients will pay you. So you want to focus over here. But those are literally like the 5 steps. You literally go to where your clients get together and talk about their problems, be their dollar-driven solution. You're going to have an onboarding session, just like a session like a doctor, lawyer, accountant, figure out their problems and how they describe them. You're going to pitch using a behind-the-scenes view of a high-performing digital marketing campaign, just like a plastic surgeon would show you what they would do. And then you go, great, that's fine. You're going to follow the 3-question close, sell top down. Once they've agreed to all 3 things, then you show the proposal and do the cohort squeeze. And then just like that, you can turn 3 90-minute lunches into $3,000-$5,000 a week of extra revenue every single week. And these are the 5 steps that I went through to build my Facebook ad agency. At a peak, we were doing 42,000 a month, but I found that the number settles at like, I only want 5 clients at 5K each. And we're doing consistent $25,000 a month. And my car wash guy called me today and said, I want to onboard 3 more locations. Can you send me an invoice, which is an extra 10 grand on top of what he's paying right now. My bike shop, last month, my bike shop had a $11,000 day because of the Facebook ads that we run. And the month before that, he did $62,000 in sales, $65,000 in sales. That's the whiteboard right behind me. This stuff just works. Because of this standard package and program, you can emphasize certain parts. If it looks like the biggest problem that they have is they don't know if their marketing is actually working, if they're coming from the marketing, things like that, you can emphasize the notifications. Great, your marketing is working, people are signing up, they're calling, they want to buy. If it turns out that they desperately need phone calls, great, we're going to emphasize how the thank you page has a phone call, an incentive to actually call. If it turns out they don't even know if it's worth it being in business because they've tried everything, great, we're going to do customer research and we're going to figure out if your current serviceable zone and the audience of people you want to serve are actually responding to the products that you have. Expert secret, if your customer research bombs, that's how you position. Great, we ran customer research and it turns out nobody wants to buy it, we have to sell. We have to figure out a new product that's worth it, et cetera, and on and on. So that's kind of the basic idea. I kind of rambled for a bit, but that's the end idea.
Nice, Jeff. And guys, if you would like to learn more, I'm gonna put some links right under this video. But Jeff, you know, you've had various students go through this process. What do you think even though you've like given it to them, what is something that people keep struggling with the most? What is the common pattern on something that they drop the ball in throughout this process?
For some reason, people will do this once or twice or 3 times and then be like, oh my God, I did it. Kind of like, this is so great. I went to the gym twice this week. And they go, oh my God, I don't have a 6-pack. The gym's not working. It's like, whoa, hold on a second. You don't get a 6-pack in less than a week. That's not how this thing works, right? Like you have to do consistent effort and intent over time. And so what'll happen is somebody will go to the Chamber of Commerce, have a conversation, get 1 or 2 clients and go like, oh my God, this is perfect. I'm doing 5K a month. And it happens all the time. It's almost like an ongoing joke in my inner circle. Like, hey, you have 5K problems now. Like, what are you talking about? Watch. In 2 weeks, you're going to call me saying you stopped doing it and you don't know what to do. And so what'll happen is people stop doing this part. They'll stop going to where their future clients get together, talk about their problems, and be their dollar-driven solution to the future. This is the only reason that I have a fucking agency. It's because I do this thing and I do it twice a week. Easy, right? Just keep going back to the gym and you'll get a 6-pack. Just keep going for runs and you'll be a faster runner. Go to where clients are and you'll get more clients. And what will happen is they'll get 1 or 2 or 3 clients hit 5K, sometimes 8K, and then they'll stop doing it. They'll stop finding new clients. They'll assume that their clients stick around forever, and then get sad when 2 or 3 months down the line, clients go, okay, you know, we're done here. Like my business is running, see you later, goodbye. And then they'll get super sad because this client was like, oh, we got married and it was amazing. I'm like, no, you didn't. It's just a fucking client. Like there's more. Like Amazon doesn't say, oh my God, you didn't order this month, right? That's not a thing. Costco doesn't say, oh, this is so sad. You know, you didn't come back and buy more jeans. Like that's not how this thing works. You have to keep going back to the gym to get your 6-pack. You don't get to say 2 clients, you got 2 or 3 clients, got 5 to 8K, and now all of a sudden, like you don't have to work anymore. I think that's a big mental shift or brain problem or effort or energy or intent. For some reason, people start agencies think the answers are in here, when the answer is actually in the physical aspect of going here. Like they stop doing that. And then they yell at me and then I yell at them and then they go back and then they make 5 to 10K again. But yeah, like the biggest mistake people make is that they'll do this 1, 2, or 3 times, get $5,000 to $8,000 a month, stop doing it, forget that every client has an expiration date. Clients will only last forever. And hell, even this guy in the example earlier, he mentioned that something that like over 2 years, he knows his clients stop coming after 2 years. He knows that's a thing. I know my clients will stop doing business with me after 6 months. That's how it works. That's how agencies work. Clients expire. But for some reason, up and coming agency owners haven't like put that in their brains yet. So they assume that clients will stick around forever and then it gets to stop working and, you know, move to Thailand or something like that. And then they call me crying because all their clients left them. I go, yeah, because you fucking moved to Thailand. Like they want to talk to you in person and you stop doing that. So that's kind of why.
Awesome. All right, man. And any last words over this whole thing? Yeah, before we wrap up.
I think the big advantage that somebody has by watching this is knowing that there's more than one step to building a Facebook ad agency. And knowing specifically that building a Facebook ad agency is 90% meeting with people who will pay you money and only 10% meeting with Facebook who you pay money. And what will happen is people say Facebook ad agency, and for some reason they assume the answers are in the Facebook ads manager or being on Facebook more or doing something here. And that's 100% not true. Like any good general contractor knows the answers to their problems and building a general contracting agency are not getting good with hammers. They know that. That's just how it fucking works. Of course, it makes total fucking sense. Like if you want to build a mechanics business, that has nothing to do with lug nuts. And that has nothing to do with spending more time on the phone with your supplier. But for some reason, people want to build a Facebook agency, believe that spending more time with Facebook means they're going to make more money, which is unequivocally not true. 100% not true. Out of the, for example, my bike shop pays me $5,000 a month on average. I spend between $800 and $1,000 using Facebook ads. That's it. Facebook does not pay, or Facebook does not get me paid. Spending time with my client does. 4 out of the $5,000 are earned not because of Facebook. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But for some reason, people who build Facebook ad agencies believe they have to spend more time on Facebook. So like I said before, anybody watching this, your advantage is knowing that there are steps to building a Facebook ad agency, and very few of them, or sorry, 10% of those steps are Facebook itself, and 90% of those steps are right here and consistently going to where clients get together, talk about the problems, and want to pay you money to solve them.
Excellent, man. So Jeff, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate this. And guys, we'll see you all in the next masterclass.
Bye.